Hi, I'm Justin with Warne, and today we're going to be doing a quick install video of our Maxima series of permanently attached rings. When you're to buy these rings and you take it out of the package, this is exactly what you're going to get. They're going to be assembled, and the components are going to be 2 ring halves, 4 screws, and 1 recoil key that's separate from the ring. The first step that we're going to do is actually take everything apart. When you take them apart, you're going to have your 2 separated ring halves with your 4 screws and your recoil key. Now this recoil key, you'll notice, has a small notch in one of the sides. When you reinstall this into the ring, it really doesn't matter which way that notch goes. That's just a byproduct of the manufacturing process. You can run it either direction. We prefer to run it up into the ring so you have a nice, flat, smooth surface on the bottom. But we're going to set those recoil keys aside for a moment. And we're installing them on a Bergara B14. This rifle already has our 2-piece bases installed on it, and it is clear in the chamber. We're going to be installing a Vortex Scope, which is a 30mm tube, and these are a set of low rings. What you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 ring halves with your screws included, and one at a time you're going to place them on the tube of the scope. You're going to just start each of the 4 screws. They have a T15 Torx fitting, and they come with a installation Torx key. But we're just going to start each one a couple threads. The next step that you're going to do is actually install those recoil keys that we have separate. And you do that just by placing them inside the small slots for them. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to pinch the bottom of the rings together with your fingers, and that keeps the recoil key in place, and it keeps it from falling out when you turn it over to drop it onto your bases. Next step is you're going to try to align it with the slots on your bases. On this base set, there are 2 slots on the front base, and you can choose which one you need to use for the proper eye relief. In this case, to give myself the most amount of adjustment, I'm going to use the rear slot, and I would line them up with those slots, and I'm just going to let them slip over the base and fall into the slot. It's important to note that when we go to start tightening these rings, you want to apply pressure to each ring forward toward the muzzle as you tighten the screw. And what that does is it seats the flat face of that recoil key up against the flat face of the slot. And so by pushing both forward, you're ensuring that both recoil keys are working for you, and that's really what's going to keep your scope in place. So we're going to go in and we're going to push forward on the muzzle, and we're just going to snug up the bottom 4 screws on each ring. And on the rear ring, we're also pushing forward, snugging up the bottom screws. At this point, I can still move my scope and adjust for eye relief and level my reticle. And if I were to actually get down, I would lay prone with the scope on maximum power, and that's where I would set my eye relief, because when you're standing or you're seated and your scope's at the minimum power, it's the most forgiving. So the most critical is lying prone, scope at maximum power. And then we're going to go through after I've leveled my reticle, after I've adjusted for eye relief, and we're going to torque those bottom screws to 25 inch-pounds. I'm using our TW1 torque wrench, which is preset for 25 inch-pounds, and it's a little slip cam T-handle wrench that will slip over when it's reached the proper torque. So after everything, again, we already have it leveled, we have it set for eye relief. I'm then going to go back and I'm going to tighten all of my top screws. And as a unique feature of our Maxima series, being a vertically split ring, when you tighten the bottom, all it's doing is tightening the ring to the base. The top of the ring is open enough that you can still move the scope tube around. So when you go to tighten the top screws, the ring is actually slightly wrapping around the tube. So that's one of the features that give these rings their holding ability is the fact that, unlike a horizontally split ring where it's more like a vise type of clamp where you have two opposing sides, with Maxima rings you're closing off one of those gaps. And so the ring itself is actually wrapping around the tube. It clamps more like a hose clamp, so you get a lot of contact out of the package, doesn't require lapping, and they'll hold anything you want to put on a gun. So I'm just snugging these up, and next I'm going to go through with our TW1 torque wrench and snug each screw down to 25 inch-pounds. Next thing I would do is bore sight the scope, then take it out to the range and shoot it. Thanks for watching.